Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday night Lyceum night. There we go. Bang on the button. Just wait for a few people to join. She's the guest tonight. Nobody out there. Oh, well, right. I'm going to go and get a kebab then. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. Hello. Somebody's joined us. Saturday night Lyceum night. Flying solo tonight. The day with the Spiritists went very well. Lovely lady and really interesting talk and practical, so that was good. And finished earlier than I thought. So I was going to do a pre-recorded Lyceum night, and I thought, oh well, I've got the time. Let's just hop on and see what happens. So there's people in the room, so just quick shout out, say who you are, where you are, if you'd like to. That would be wonderful. Oh, they're dropping out again now. Frightening them off. So, yeah, what are we going to talk about? I have no idea. I do, actually. I'd like to pick up on the thread of last week. We had lovely Bill Rich on last week, who went on for quite a long time, which was wonderful. And we were talking about circles. And I'd just like to continue on that vein a little bit. So anybody in the room, got any knowledge about circles that you want to share, or experiences or information on how to set one up, please just ask away. But the home circles just really does seem to be coming into the energy quite a lot now. There's lots of comments about home circles. It's just popping up in conversation. There's been a few things shared on Facebook and other social media. Some of the greats of the past. There was a lovely talk by Gordon Higginson shared just recently. And in that, he was talking about the benefits of a home circle. So, yeah, when you start seeing all these little coincidences. Hello, lovely Marion. Yeah, when you start seeing all these little coincidences, I think it's pretty much just sure sign, that the spirit is sort of saying, have a look at this, have a think about this, we'll put this in your awareness, do something with it. So yeah, home circle. I started off in home circles many years ago. I was 13, 14, and I sat in a couple of home circles, mum and dad. One was over at Bournemouth, and the other one was more local to us in Poole. And no, actually, it's three, because yes, there was two in Bournemouth we sat in, and it was all really interesting because it wasn't the energy that you see today running it. These people were running circles simply for the joy of it. There was only one I remember that we put in, I think it was a grand sum of £1 in those days. And that was to go towards the heating and lighting, because they had like this extension built onto their house purely for that purpose. But otherwise, it wasn't, come to the circle and we'll make you a medium, or we'll teach you how to link with spirit and come to the circle. It just happened. And there was probably a lot more social interaction in those days, I think, because people would go to church, dare I say, probably more regularly than people do today. People would have been probably more, what's the word I'm looking for? probably loyal to one church. You know, they would have had their church. Now that dictated by distance or personal likes or whatever. But yeah, there was a different energy around in those days. And as I say, I remember the reason we ended up in 3, because at that time Mum and Dad were running the church. So various mediums coming in saying, we're running a circle at home, would you like to join? You know, they were that pivotal point where they met a lot more people than most. So, but it was fascinating. I used to love circle night. Even at that age, I used to really love going along to them. And just sitting, and it wasn't pushing you to develop to be a me. We literally just sat, and it was as simple as that. We didn't do any exercises. We would have the opening prayer, and we would send out healing, and then literally we would just sit and just allow that energy, those links to start developing. And it was absolutely fascinating. And I wonder today, in today's world, I'd like to think the answer is yes to this, that can we run circles in that similar vein today, in today's world? You know, we run, Julie, hello, darling. We run development circles here at the church, and I've taken a slightly different tact and set them into 6 or 8 week courses. So it gives the medium who's taken it the opportunity to come up with a, what's the word I'm looking for? Schedule for what's going to be covered in each week. And it focuses people's attention more financially, and you know, the church is a business as well as a church. People pay up front because, you know, you do have circles at times. One week you'll get 1 turn up, you know, and same amount of lights have got to go on, same amount of heating. So people pay up front for the whole course. And yeah, they're really good. They really do work very well. Very pleased at the way they're going. But I'm just getting drawn back to more of that fundamental. It just seems to be the energy of this time. It's very much focusing on going back to the basics of what we do with spirit, you know, and trimming away all, dare I say, some of the fads that go around. You know, definitely no place for the ego-driven running our circles and that. And it's just really is just going back to the actual basics. Julie, I know you run a home circle, don't you, darling? So if you'd like to pipe in here, please do. How did your home circles start about? Why did it start about? You know, little things. Marion, I'm sure you've got extensive knowledge of home circles. Because I think as this energy comes in more and more prevalent, there really is going to be actually a big need to share information about our home circles and talk about how they were set up, how they would be run, what would be done, what would not be done, and things like that, because it's going to be a newness coming into a lot of people's lives. You know, and sadly, and I think we touched on this last week with Bill, a lot of the churches and centres, with the rising energy costs that we are all suffering from, you know, they're going to look at nights, and similar as I do here at Poole, certain things really, all right, you can take a slight loss every now and then, but you can't keep running a continual loss all the time. There's no real, you know, goal or outcome to it. So I think the home circles, what better? I mean, I could have a lovely circle here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 7. Ideal. I'd be quite happy, because I'm going to be sat here anyway with the heating on. So yeah, invite 6. If I had 6 friends, to just come and sit for this, the joy of sitting with spirit. And that's something, isn't it? The joy of sitting with spirit. That's something we don't. It's probably been lost a little bit. Hello, Mr. Rich. Good evening. We're just touching again, Bill, on. It's just me and the cat tonight because I didn't think I would have time after our Spiritist Day, and I was going to put on a pre-recorded, but I found I did have time, so I thought, yeah, I'll come and have a waffle. And we're just carrying on, Bill, about the circles, home circles and things, because that was really interesting last week. That was a really interesting topic, and it's still going on. There's still lots of references just popping up all over the place about home circles. There's definitely something going on, spirit driven. So Julie, I know you have wonderful home circles. And your home circle is a family circle. We mainly meet via video, Facebook Messenger, and started at the start of the beginning of lockdown. Oh, right. I thought you'd been running one a little bit longer than that, but yeah, that's interesting. See, it's just another thing, isn't it? Home circles. Are we talking physically in home? Or are we talking virtually? There's something to ponder. I like the virtual aspect, but I also like the physical aspect. So, and each one has benefits. The virtual one is not a lot of prep to be done, whatever. The physical one, you need to get the circle ready, sort of thing, before you sit. If you can, if you could dedicate a room to your home circle, the more the better. That's Stuart Alexander tape. He was talking about another physical medium, and they used a back bedroom that was only used for their physical circle work. Yeah. Where are we? We'll keep up with the comments. Jen, couldn't manage to get to your home circle, I'm afraid, too far away. Well, I would love to sit in circle with you, Jen, because I bet that would be absolutely awesome. Matt Harris, good evening, sir. Hello, always enjoy your Lyceum night. Thank you. I sat in a closed home circle, which was great. I miss it, and I'm now considering going to join an open circle. Just wondering how they may differ. Good question, Matt. If you are invited to, see, this is going to touch on a lovely subject, which I do like, and that's called discipline, right? Got it? Sit up straight, all of you. And listen. Matt, so a closed home circle, the fact it's in home, it could be a closed circle at home or in a church or a centre, is that you're invited in. Some people, I know of somebody had set up their own trance circle about 6 months ago. And they were relaying a few tales of the number of people who were messaging them saying, I want to sit in your trance circle. Not, can I? Or is there a vacancy? It's almost like this little bit of the entitlement air coming in. Closed circles, in my book, I'm going to go in my book. So if I say it should be, that's according to the Book of Lawrence. It's not indelible. Other people are perfectly entitled to their views, however wrong they may be. But in my book, a closed circle is, I would invite you because I've seen something about you. There's just something there. We've met, we've had a conversation, maybe a personal recommendation from somebody that you really trust, and just thought, yeah, okay, let's see where this person is. Let's see where they're coming from. So it is by invitation. And when you're invited into a closed circle, Matt, you really are expected to be there every week unless you're dead. Originally, home circles used to be stopped in, say, the month of August. And that would allow people to have their holiday time then. It was the hottest months of the year as well. But seriously, a home circle, if you kept missing a few slots, the circle leader would have no qualms in just saying, well, seriously, you can't keep up the dedication. That's absolutely fine. You may have very valid reasons. However, this does require dedication, so until whatever it is in your life is resolved, you won't be sitting with us anymore. Open circle tends to be more of, you can go whenever. So you go this week, next week, it's raining and think, oh, bugger that, I'm not going out in the rain. So, the attendance isn't as strict as a closed circle. And open circles, well, you see, I was brought up with open circles just being about meditation. If I tried to give anything obtained through a mediumistic link, I used to get shouted at seriously by my teacher, because it was regarded as a very fundamental circle, and just to try and get you in tune and just sitting in the power. Who was it? Pietro, a lovely medium from the Midlands, and he was talking about his first open circle, and he had to drive something like about 15, 20 miles each way, and he went every week, didn't say a word. Every week he went, never said a word, would not allow to work mediumistically. It was about sitting in the power and then going home. And he's a very accomplished medium, because it's shown that dedication as well. Do you know what? There's a lot of the old rules about circle. You sit in the same place. The circle leader may move you around, but you do not move yourself around. You do attend every week. A lot of them you get homework. I used to sit in one, and we had to go and see a service somewhere. Didn't matter where, but we had to go and see a service every week and write down what we thought of the service, the content, the presentation, and not in today's world where you're just criticizing. It was just an objective view of what you'd seen, so it's your circle training not only goes on sat in circle, it's outside as well, because we're also getting books to read and things like that, and it's not like, I think you should read this book. It's like, you read this book. And woe betide you if you didn't, because if you tried to, what did you think of that book, so? What did you think about the part about whatever? And you just think, yeah, I'm being tricked here, aren't I? Because that bit didn't exist. This is just a triple check that I did actually read the book. So I hope that helps a bit, Matt. I say closed circle is, you're invited in. It is a stricter environment than an open circle. Attendance is almost mandatory, and it tends to be also in its work more focused. So you would work on different exercises each week. And see, this is where I see with the open circles now being advertised, come and improve your mediumship, this, we're doing that. And it just seems to be a cheap marrying off of the two. It just seems to be like you have your open circle to tune in, to find spirit, to get your development, to get your fundamentals in. And then your closed circles would start developing those gifts. It now seems like, instead of having two, we'll just amalgamate the one. Do you remember what they did with pubs? You used to have a public bar where you could shout, spit and swear. And you had the lounge bar where you took your missus, and then you just made it all one bar. And that's, to me, that's what's going on with these open circles that I see. So I hope that helps. Marion, hello, darling. How are you? Long time. Marion's just saying here, in my days, there were so many different circles, from mental to physical. I sat in a home physical circle for about 8 years, loved every moment with fantastic results. Yeah, really good point, because I'm using a generic home circle, but you could have a home circle for healing, a home circle for mental mediumship, which is what we see in the main demonstrated on our platforms. And most certainly the physical circles. You know, if I advertise tomorrow in the church that I'm going to start up a physical circle, I would be inundated by loads of people wanting to sit in it. But when the actual mechanics of it started to come about, then loads of people would disappear. And I'm sorry, but this is true. You know, if you sit in a physical circle, generally you sat in the circle to develop one medium, and everybody else is just sat there to give that medium their energy. Yeah, and you try and get that nowadays. You try and get 6 people who are going to be quite happy to just sit there, not getting anything, not giving anything off, but they're just sitting there focusing their energy as you would do if you had lovely Marion in your circle, and sending your energy to Marion to work with the spirit on your behalf. So yeah, good point. Good point, Marion. There were many different types of circles, and there still can be. It still can be. But I think, you know, if we're looking at home circles, hold on, a few more. Jen, I would have been lost without Angie's Zoom circle, which works really well. Well, yeah, I agree with you, Jen. I've worked evidential medium in services for churches and centres, and when I first started doing it, I was like, wow, why don't I get this level of communication when I'm stood on a bloody platform? Seriously, one of them, I had to frighten myself. I was chatting away, I was giving this communication, and I suddenly knew this guy was just stood there next to me. Hello. So yeah, I agree. The new virtual churches, interesting. There's a lot of scope there, but like everything, broad edge, you know, double-edged sword. I'm seeing some really good, lovely. I was talking to. Sorry, I've just seen a comment from our Danish guests. Oh, that's wonderful, Jack. I'm so glad the pheasant's done. I was just talking to Frederick Hagland, and he works a lot online because of his location and being out of the country. And he seriously does a lot of work online, and he really is a very accomplished medium. He's certainly, and I don't blow smoke, you know, if somebody could do better, I knew you said a rude word then. If somebody could do better, I don't have any qualms about saying it. You know, you are either good enough or you're not good enough. And that sounds a bit harsh, but unfortunately it's true, because you're seeing some people just come out with anything between utter nonsense and at best very uneducated, very unpracticed communication skills. You know, we should always be striving to better and better and better ourselves. We should never be just, you know, I'm a medium. There we go. I'm a medium now. There we go. Oh, look at me. I'm a medium. Yeah, that doesn't or shouldn't exist. And sadly, you've seen quite a lot of that. My own personal experience from, when was it? 2000 and... When did the dreaded C happen? 2018. I was working in a church and I was giving a message, and I went, have I given you this message before? And the woman went, no. And I went, this is so familiar. I don't understand it. Anyway, I sit with spirit myself and I ask questions and I get answers. It just happens, and I'm ever grateful for it. And I know it's not my answers because they are most unflattering and they usually involve a lot more work. But anyway, I said, what is this? Why am I getting this familiarity now with all my messages? Because just simply turned around and said, because you stopped developing, and you that's the level you've got to, and that's where you're going to continue working until you develop more. And I went, you know what, that makes perfect sense. I really get that. So that was a good kick up the backside for me. And you do see it with some people. You know, they may serve a church or a centre this year, and next year they'll serve it. And you know, what they're saying is just a bit formulaic and very similar. There's no stretching. You know, Spirit don't know any boundaries. We do. We stick them in. Spirit don't. You know, if you want names and addresses and you have that ability to be an accomplished evidential medium, the only thing that's stopping you is you with your time management and dedication issues. You know, I heard people say, well, I sit in circle every week, you know, an hour and a half a week. So that's 6 hours a month. So that's 72 hours a year, 24 or 48. So you sit in circle 4 days a year. But you only do your development when you're in circle. What about the other 361 days? Where's your reading? Where's your discussion groups? Where's your awareness groups? Where's your meditation time? So yeah. Right off the track now. Anyway, good evening, Mr. Langland. How are you, sir? So nice to have you on. I did not expect you on. I nearly sent you a message saying, do you want to come online tonight? And I thought, oh no, leave me alone, he's on holiday. Julie Caswell. Since my daughter has moved out, I have made her room our spiritual room and she loves it. Yeah, do you know what? Again, in home circles, it was quite common. They were always referred to, weren't they, as the back bedroom. Do you remember that? You had the front bedroom. They were the posh ones, and then you had the back bedroom. They're the ones that overlook the bins or something. It was generally always the back bedroom. But do you know what? There were some amazing things happened in those rooms. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely. And also, Julie, it means your daughter can't move back in. So, did you think that? Was that the plan? No, you can't come in here. It's full of crystals. Marion, I attended a home circle for around 14 years. Discipline, room dedicated for circle, no negative chat prior. Good point. Prompt start, prayer, 1 hour sitting in the hour, giving off at the end of circle or during if inspired, if anything received, prayer followed by a cuppa and nibbles, general discussion. Commitment required as group energy. Yeah, do you know what? There is that gentleman who was talking earlier. Matt. That's a really good example there of what is a good home circle. And again, that would be by invitation. Of course it would be, because it's your home. You're not going to open up your home to all and sundry, put it on Facebook, come round at 8. So, and that was a really good point there, Marianne. Thank you. No negative chat prior. Do you know what? I'm going to pull up a chair because this is this is me on a soapbox here. I struggle a lot sometimes when I go to other churches and centres at some of the things that are said before the service commences. I just look at these, and these are people that really should know better. And what is being said, and I'm just like, do you not get the connection? You are here in whatever capacity you are to the church or the centre, in an official capacity, and prior to the joining of the two worlds, you're slagging off another medium or slagging off somebody in the committee, or you know what? I'm just looking at these people going, please don't talk to me. Sorry, I have a thing now. Don't talk to me before service, because I don't want to know. I don't want to know after the service, seriously. But I seriously don't want to know before the service. I walked into a centre that I'd never worked at before about a year ago. And I walked in the door and I went, oh, so the committee's at each other's throats then? And this woman went, who told you? And I went, nobody. It's in the energy of your church. And I suggest you do something about it. It was just there. So yeah, thank you for bringing it up, Marion. That's a really important thing. I'm hoping through these talks, not just here, there's been loads of things being said and recorded out there, talking about the topic of home circles, because that there is going to be that need there of how to set one up, and I know in this room tonight we've got well over 100 years of experience of home circles. What better font of knowledge to come to and ask and find out how to set it up, what the intent should be, what they should look for, seriously, seriously, seriously. Marianne, is the dedication there as the most valid for development? Yeah, I agree, Marion. I always say, if you had a bunch of mates and every week you said, oh, we meet up on Friday, and then probably 3 out of 4 Fridays you don't bother turning up. Well, one day you're going to turn up and nobody will be there. Simple as that. Because why should we? And we forget that sometimes with spirit. We overlook. We tend to. I've just done it there. Use the phrase spirit, which then becomes this faceless, amorphic mass. So it's like, oh, well, spirit will do that for me. Oh, well, spirit will help me on that. Well, oh, spirit, they know better than me, and, I trust them to work it out for me. Well, that's a load of claptrap. Seriously. Spirit is just the room on the other side of the mirror. Oh, that's nice. I like that phrase. I've just made that up. I'm going to copyright that. Yeah, the spirit is just the room on the other side of the mirror. It's people. It's consciousnesses, it's intelligences getting together, and they know far better about things than we do. So it's not. It's like saying, "Oh, the Isle of Wight will sort it out for me," or the Outer Hebrides will guide me the best place. You can't do that. Well, you can, but you're not going to get very far. Simple as that. You sit with spirit, and yeah, the dedication, because I often say from the platform, if they're showing signs there that there may be potential with the sitter that I'm working with at the time, I'm always very careful not to say, oh, you could be doing this, you could be up here giving messages, because I've seen people do it, put themselves forward because a medium told them that they were a medium. Mental. Anyway, I would just say, the spirit are really interested in you. There is potential with you, but you're only going to get out as much as you put in. And if you only turn up for an hour a week and then the rest of the time you're not bothered and interested, that's what you're going to get out. But if you really start dedicating yourself, things will ramp up. Seriously will. Julie personally doesn't like sitting in an open circle. Too many different energies for me. I get that, Julie. I never thought I'd be running I never thought I'd be running a church, but ta-da! And then I never thought I'd be running a circle, and ta-da! But yeah, it takes a special kind of medium to run an open circle. It really does. You've got to have a lot of experience there. You've got to have a real good strength of character, because you do get people. I've had to say it a few times in open circles when they were here. I'm really sorry, this environment isn't right for you. I suggest that you attend our healing nights, because it's just what's being said or what is just apparent when you're communicating with people. So yeah, I get that, Julie. They are unnecessary, the open circles. However, it's a bit like Julie. You wouldn't go back and sit in primary school now. You know what I mean? We move on with our circle work, and if you're meant to move on, the opportunities will come. But yeah, there are a lot of different energies. I've sat in some beautiful open circles, and I'd like to think that the ones that I've run here have been run well. But similarly, again, I sat in some and just thought, what the hell? Have I just been reincarnated in the circus? Because I really don't know what's going on here. Anyway, hello, Pauline. Lovely Jack, who's living out on Rabbit Island. Sadly, many people these days won't commit. I recently was asked to join your circle. Does that need commitment? Yes. Oh, no, not for me then. How can we make people realise that every form of development needs commitment? Well, it's going to sound a bit harsh, but I'll put that another way. Is it our job to take people out of their orthodoxies? Because I don't consider that is my job. If I was delivered a line like that, I'd just be like, right, fine, crack on. It is. I know, Jack. I know, because you are very, very passionate about your work. I know that, and both of you are. And it's disappointing, isn't it? Because you can see potential. You want other people to share the joy of that connection with the spirit world. And it's such a joyous thing. You know, when you go into some of these churches and centres and it's a very sombre affair, it's almost like an Anglican event or something like that, and you just think, oh, for God's sake, cheer up, you know. That joy of that communication with spirit, that closeness with the spirit and what it does for us and changes. You know, Jack, I know your story, and without spiritualism, you probably, you know, I think you'd agree, you'd probably be a very, very different person today. And quite rightly so, quite understandably. But yeah, and we just get disappointed because we're like, oh wow, I can feel the potential. I can feel, do you know what? This could be amazing and awesome. And they go, yeah, not today. And you just think, what? But as I say, it's not our job to drag them out of their orthodoxies. If they don't want to show commitment, you know what? You've got two choices. Take it to heart and be very disappointed for them, which we do because we are sensitive by nature. Or just say, yeah, absolutely fine, thanks. Good. I'm glad you said that because that means you haven't wasted my time later on. Thank you. Ooh, turns it around nicely. We like that. Mr. Rich, good evening, sir. Sometimes it's almost mediums have a script when working. It's a script they make spirit. Don't have a script. You learn this in circle. Yeah. I think you're touching back there when I was saying about, you know, I just felt like I'm giving the same messages all the time. And yeah, there was a script element to it. You know, what was it? What's that one? CERT, wasn't it? That was taught very much. Communicator, evidence, reason for coming, tie up. You know, and that was taught in the colleges, and so it was quite a number of years. So it did become a bit of a script. It was sort of like, right, you know, who are you? How tall are you? How old are you? What colour are your eyes? How did you die? Why do we do that? Seriously, why do we do that in our mediumship? He says, doing it himself. You know, and I'm trying to work on this new way with spirit of just saying, I don't want to know how you died. I want to know how you lived. I'm serious. I don't want to know how you died. I want to know how you lived. But yeah, you can get very formulaic. And again, that's the lack of knowledge. That's just skimming the surface. You taught me, Mr. Rich, online one night to allow things to flow. And that was awesome. Absolutely. And you taught me that in 5 minutes. You know, because I'm open to learning more. I'm always thirsty to learn. You know, how do you do that? How does that work then? Why do you do it that way? So I'm always eager to learn more. I get it because we all went through that barrier, didn't we? When we gave our first bit of evidence that was taken, it was like, wow, oh my God, this is so exciting. you know, and then we do the thing, don't we? We're running around and sat in buses giving messages, or as I did, sat in a nightclub giving messages until my partner dragged me out and told me I'll never do that ever again. Um, but, you know, it's like we've broken through and that's it, we are there, but it's not. It's just that another step along the path with it. And this is, as I say, and I do mean this sincerely, there's a huge number of mediums who, whether consciously or not, say to them, well, I'm a medium now. And that's it. I get bookings, so happy days. And you do hear it, sadly, in their works. You know, 4 years ago, they were saying something like, oh, where you go outside, I think it's the back door, there's a step, just be careful. You know, 4 years later, they're saying the same damn thing. And you just think, really? Really? So, yes, Bill, I agree 100%. Let's go back to circle and keep learning. Julie, many years ago, I went to an open circle, and before we sat, people had running it had an argument. Great. That's always a great opener, isn't it? I had a very negative experience, but it taught me a lot about negative energy. Yeah, and this is another thing with it. This, what do you call it? The hygiene, I suppose, of your circle environment. Yeah, that's probably a good way of thinking about it. The hygiene that, you know, if you are absolutely in a foul, and I've done this with circles, if I'm absolutely livid and bouncing up and down about something, really having trouble to let it go, I won't go to circle because I know it's just going to keep coming out. I'm going to be sat there like a loudspeaker. So I've just said, you know, sorry, my mind is not in the right state. Because it's not just the upsetting of the energy, so you can have a real impact on people. It's a bit like a blow in the solar plexus at times. I've endured it myself, and no doubt I've probably given it out as well. But and if I have, I am very sorry. It wasn't intentional. But you can be in that energy, and something, you know, scratches you or something, and you go, "Arr!" But you don't realize that in that energy, that little bite that you've just had actually really had an impact. It's almost like a physical blow on somebody. So, yeah, you've got to keep those energies under check. And if you've got issues, I know somebody who had very bad anger management issues and was desperate to sit in a circle, and no circle would touch him. And I thought, and he was saying, well, it's not fair. And I said, well, actually, it is, because you have this condition where you suddenly wig out. And I said, and if you did that in circle, it's not just a disruption, it's a real negative impact you can have on other people in your circle. So yeah, it's very true, Julie. You know, I always think negative energy is, to me, a lazy energy because it doesn't require any effort. Anybody, you know, bloody cat. You know, no effort. But I can look at her also and go, she is beautiful. She is a beautiful pussycat. And that requires a bit more of an input. So yeah, negative energies and circle environment. The circle is an amplifier. You know, that's a very easy, simple way of looking at it. It's an amplifier. So whatever you're putting into it, go bouncing back out 10 times as loud. So if you're sat in the circle looking across at somebody in the circle thinking, do you know what? Give me 5 minutes down the back alley with you one day, any day, matey. You're a horrible piece of work. And I have been in a circle with that going on. God help me. But yeah, it is an amplifier. It is an amplifier of things. But when it's all in harmony, when that oneness is achieved, that everybody's comfortable with each other, that there aren't any underlying niggles, there aren't any underlying arguments or niggles or hassles. The people there are of a reasonable standard. They understand, you know, it's about education as well. And again, I'm seeing in today's world of spiritualism, not thankfully not very prevalent, but it is there, where there is a huge amount of disinformation being practiced by people. And things really you should be able to put right fairly quickly through just reading about the basics of what we're about spiritualism. Reading about not these modern books of when I was a medium. I'm talking about going back 50, 60 years and reading books of that genre, and just understanding more, attending awareness groups, things like that, and talking with other people about spiritual matters, and just having that openness to be educated as well. We've all had examples where somebody said something, you go, well, actually, no, it's so-and-so, and then there's like, rah, 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 how dare you challenge me? I'm not challenging you, I'm trying to educate you, but you carry on, mate. So, yeah, lots and lots and lots of things. Jack, I want to be a star and you're going to make it happen for me in one evening. Yeah. This does make me smile now. It used to irritate me quite a lot, this thinking process. And to the point of I get very irritable over it when I came across it. But now I just laugh. Become a medium, become famous. Right. Can you name me one rich, famous medium, please? Can you tell me one very rich, very famous medium? Because I don't know any rich, famous mediums. I know a huge amount of people that are, to the outside, ordinary people. But when they get into whichever line of work they do, they just turn into these magical beings that make everything possible. But Jack, you are a star. You know that. Lovely Mariam. It seems those that are willing to dedicate the time are those that realize our life is not separate from spirit. Very true. And we are spirit to sit to work on ourselves. Our connection to deepen the blending is never time wasted. Spirit always working with us, even if we are not aware quite how, is progression. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, Marion. There's some beautiful sentiments in there. And again, we hark back there probably a little bit to the education side of it, and remove this, 15 minutes of fame syndrome from it. And we've got a gentleman here, and those who watch live services would be familiar with him, the lovely Ted, who is 92. And he sits in an awareness group and also in some of our circles. And one lady one night, and she didn't say it nastily, I give her that full credit, it wasn't nasty. She just said, oh gosh, at that age, why would he want to develop? Is he ever going to go on the platform? And it's like, well, no, actually, because the circle develops his soul. The fact you may go on a platform afterwards is purely coincidental, actually. You sit in the circle, you deepen that spirit, that connection, because you're working on that eternal part of yourself. And again, this is where the education side comes in. Sadly, some of the advertising I'm seeing by church and centres can be a bit misleading. Come and demonstrate your mediumship at our open circle. And I'm like, that doesn't gel with me. To me, A, that's not what an open circle is about. And B, how do you know they're a medium? I get lots of people here telling me they're a medium, and I'm looking at them going, no, you're not. No, you're not. Seriously not. But yeah, really true, Marion. And that's getting that over again to people that, Yeah, it's not to be a great medium or a great healer or whatever. It's just about finding yourself. And I am pleased, actually. I'm getting more and more inquiries. And this is why we're having a big change around in 2023 with our service formats again. That people are looking for their own development. They are, I don't want to go on platform. I don't want to be a healer. I just want to deepen that link, and that's the material we need. That's what we can work with. When we get somebody told me 4 years ago I'm a medium, so I thought it was about time I better get up and do it. God, where do we go? Wonderful Jack. What's he coming out with now? You are a very, very bad Viking. Do you know that? Can I suggest a quick fix circle? It will have many attendees. Just charge a high price and you'll make a lot of money. Jack, I haven't got the lack of integrity to do that. I am cursed. I should never play poker because my face tells my emotions all the time. And I seriously can't say, I've seen some people get up and do something and get down and people have gone, oh my God, you were amazing. And I'm just looking at them going, which one do I punch first? I don't know. I shouldn't be running a church. I keep telling everybody this. Nobody will listen. Seriously, I can't do that. I believe in truthful feedback. And I don't mean it not, I'm not going to go, oh, you're crap. Unless you really, really were. No. I am learning the way to bring in the constructive appraisal for people. But as I say, we do suffer a lot. And I know it's probably with good intent that everybody wants that person, because that person probably stood up there where all the other people watching would love to do it, but have lacked that nerve. So they're sort of like congratulating them more for that getting up there and doing something. But seriously, when I've heard people absolutely rave about somebody, and I've just stood there thinking that was probably the most abysmal demonstration of anything that I've seen for a very long time. And that's probably not the way I would feed it back to the person. I'm more inclined to say, well, how do you think you did? What did you demonstrate there? Apart from a huge ego. But I'll tell you what, Jack, we'll run one of them on the 1st of January. Oh, you're still here. You can run that. Great. Leslie. Hello, Leslie. You never stop developing. That's the fun of it, surely. Indeed. And we get this separation here of people of they view life as that's what life is. I've got to get to there, and once I get to there, that's it. Happy days. I've got the target and I've reached my goal, and everything's cushy. And then you get other people go, okay. What am I going to learn tomorrow? Because today's lesson was a bummer. I'm going to go to bed and start all over again. So yes, Leslie, you never stop developing. And again, it's just bringing back in. I think we really need to see more and more in our churches and centres about education and stop this non-stop diet of evidential mediumship all the time, because it has become a bit of a loop for people. Well, that was a lovely afternoon. Wasn't that lovely, everybody? Thank you for coming. See you next Thursday. Listen, please, if I've offended anybody by saying that, I don't mean it offensively. Really? 50 weeks of the year? Or my favourite phrase, and I had this, so I am speaking from experience. Well, that was a really good den, Lawrence. Absolutely lovely. Thank you, Nick. Wonderful. Next week, we've got a really good medium. And I just sat there going, what? Or what are you saying? Yeah, we have got to get that education back in. And good solid education. I often hear from other places, oh, it's not what they want. And I'm like, what have you ever asked them? Or are you just assuming? Why don't you do a discussion one day instead of another round of mediumship? We're going to have a general discussion. We're going to talk about circles today, or we're going to talk about healing. Oh no, they wouldn't like that. What have they ever? I don't know who they are, but have they ever said that they wouldn't like that, or are you just assuming? I don't know. But yeah, I dearly would like to see much more of the education coming back into the movement to breathe some new life back in there. So anyway, Marianne, one thing I did forget to say, any energies built up in the circle were always asked to be sent out as healing. Indeed, very, very common practice. And healing is the fundamental of what we do. In our evidential mediumship, there is 9 times out of 10 that instrument of healing there. For that person to know that the person who's gone on ahead of them is functioning, is at peace, is maybe able to just put their minds at rest in a little more detail, bring that healing in for the spirit world as well. I know I've said this before, but if I had a great big row with Jack, I can never row with Jack if I tried, but give it a go. I had a great big row with Jack, stomped off, bum in the air, and then dropped dead. Do you know what? Sooner or later, I would come back as a message and just go, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. That would be for my benefit from the spirit side. Seriously, because that energy would just sit with me because I've got a good mate here and I've had an easy fit. And I've lost that mate. So I would want to come back and say, I'm sorry. Not, Jack can take it or leave it, entirely up to him. But for my own benefit, I would like that opportunity to come back and just say, yeah, sorry, I was being a complete so-and-so. Yeah, sorry about that. Jen, in our area, people seem only interested in the messages and a very short philosophy. They wouldn't come to Lyceum talks or anything like that. That's why I like what you do in Paul. Yeah, you see, again, Jen, I think sometimes people have maybe limited their appeal, because if you're going to do something different, you're going to be appealing to different people. That brings in 2 energies. Number one, hitting the right notes to find those people who may be interested in that, but also dealing with the flack from the people who don't want to see change because it's dangerous, and if you change something, we may all die horribly, So it's quite a process to get it in there, because you not only got to get that new congregation in, you've also got to lay the fears to rest of the current congregation. Sometimes you can't do it all, but as long as what you do, you try and do it as tactfully and as charitably as you can, then yeah, go with it. But you know what? I think sometimes we tell ourselves that, and then it becomes our truth. But I think there's always that room to just try, just see what happens. I was talking there. Where is it? Not Swathing. Good God knows. One of the churches in Southampton, and I was talking to the medium who takes his philosophy night there once a month. And I said, oh, how's that going? He said, oh, it's not too bad. And I said, all right, how many are you getting in? He said, oh, about 38. Oh, what? Do you mean 3 or 8? He said about 38. I went, that is great. That is so good to hear. And like talking about philosophy, and they're getting like 38 people in for it. That is really, hats off to them. Absolutely. So yeah, there's always hope. There's always hope. Carol, I agree. Same with us, but we are making more of the philosophy now. And after service, we explain what the mediums gave in their address. Nice one. I like that. I do like that. So afterwards, those people staying on, that's really good because they're staying on because they want to learn. And this is what I've found down here. People do actually want to understand more. We've all had that period where our mortality has been challenged. And so, yeah, it's very much in the energy. People do want to try and get an idea of what happens when we take that final blink. Brilliant. And making more of the philosophy now. Do you know what I do here, Carol? We have an hour-long service at Poole, and I do not put any time constraints on the medium. We have the format, we open, we have our healing, they do their reading and or address, whatever. We have a piece of music, mediumship. Now, if their address lasts 40 minutes, it lasts 40 minutes. Just simple as that. The one thing, obviously, you do is having the mediums who can do the job. And I know some people, a lot of places are really struggling to get mediums. I do understand that. I really do understand that. But here's a thought. If you get somebody whose evidential mediumship is top notch, but their philosophy may be requiring a bit more work, why don't you ask somebody else do the philosophy part? Because you'd be amazed at the people that you've actually got sat in your own churches and some of the things they've got to share as well. So yeah, but I really like that idea, Carol. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is great. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share that on. And I know when I'm going to be doing it as well. So happy days. And Bennett, I saw an evidential medium put on Facebook and she dried up for the first time in 15 years. Said, I'm sorry, but I'm not getting anything more. So would you like me to do a question and answer session? I will answer the questions to the best of my knowledge. Always good to change it up if that happens. Yeah, you know what? These nights, just taking these nights from Poole here, brilliantly popular. People love them, because we're having this opportunity to talk now. Q&A nights, I think, are a must in churches. I really do. I think every church should at least do one a month of questions and answers because people are out, and they go, oh, and I love it when somebody asks something that shouldn't, well, how do I phrase this without demeaning anybody? Because I'm not trying to do that. Somebody may ask a question. Oh, yes. It depends on the person answering the questions, their level of knowledge. But somebody may ask a question where it may just cross your mind and think, wow, that is basic. Why don't you do that? And you give the answer to whatever it may be, or the suggestions, whatever it may be. But it's also quite interesting because, you just then tend to get a bit of a grasp of what's going on out there in the congregations and potentially what is being taught by some people, because you just sometimes people come out with something and you go, hang on a minute. I have never heard that applied to, what was it? Your soul can be kept back by others if you don't develop your mediumship to your highest abilities. And you will find that when you pass over, you're almost kept in a prison by other people. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what branch of spiritualism this is, but number one, it's not spiritualism. Number two, I really think you have an issue. I really think you don't need a medium. You may need somebody else. But yeah. So it is. Questions and answers are great. And do you know what I've done a couple of times in the addresses here at Paul, where the address has been fairly short, and that's fine, absolutely fine. I've just said then, has anybody got any questions at all about spiritualism? You know, not an appetizer thing, but just throwing it into the service. Because the service is where people are coming and trying to learn. And it's always difficult getting that first question out. The first question is like, you know, trying to prise open a safe with a jelly. But you find actually if one person asks a question, the answer from that will spawn quite a few more questions, and people absolutely love it. Some people don't. You know what? If I was to stand up there and give £50 for everybody in the church, some people would love it and some people wouldn't. So, yeah. Keith Morn, what are your thoughts on psychic fairs and festivals in spreading the spiritualist movement and giving people an informal and immediate access to a medium or a reader? Okay. Right, hand on heart. I seriously don't like these MBS fairs. They're not for me. I don't like them in the slightest. I have to be honest about that. However, I'm not saying that they don't have any place within our movement. Like all things, double-edged sword. You know, with everything we do with our movement, we've always got to strive to get quality. Where am I going with this? Don't go there. We've always got to strive our best to get quality. So the basic energy of the psychic fairs and festivals, yep, I understand it. I get it. It's not for me. It's not my environment. I don't like them. I can't change that. I don't like them. My idea of hell would be an endless psychic fair. But yeah, the basic energy of them I get. However, they have, not all of them, but a lot of them are turned into what I call spiritual jumble sales, where you've just got an awful lot of old tat going. These are the ones that have just turned me off of the NBSs. There are also others that have got very good exhibitors in them. They have got very good mediums working in there. They have actually made the environment conducive to reading. I have done readings at church fairs and bazaars. Some of them, you know, they actually, you know, we've got to look after our mediums. And that's a very broad subject. And one of the ways we look after our mediums, if we're asking them to do about 8 or 10 readings on a trot, number one, you build a bit of a break in for them. Number two, you always make sure they're hydrated, they've got water. Number three, you give them a comfy chair, because I do suffer with numb bum. Hard chair, numb bum. After 5 minutes, I'm like, all I can think about is my bum. Yeah, and working in an area where it is conducive to your mediumship. I'm not saying you've got to do it in deadly silence. I can put up with the hubbub in the background, no problems whatsoever once I'm in that zone. But I have seen people just stuck in the middle of a room with the most awful music was playing as well. And I was just thinking, I just want to leave just because of the music, and thinking about this poor medium who was stuck in the middle of it all trying to do a reading, you know? So yeah, it's, again, they are a useful platform for some. We have one down here, lovely lady Elaine Fenton organising it, and that's a big mind, body, spirit in the arts centre here. Now that's really, I like her MBSs, I really do, because they've got lots of talks going on. They might have a little dem going on. They've got readers everywhere. They've got all these different exhibitors and things like that, you know. And that, to me, yeah, that's fine, absolutely fine. But as I say, it's, you know, we've got to develop more, a little bit. Well, this is probably my background talking more than anything. We've got to have a little bit more of a professional edge about what we do, and not, oh, that'll do. And certainly not as a platform for our own thinking. There was all right. There was an event down this way a little while back, and the organising body had their own thoughts about the vaccine and things like that, which actually came out in the room on the day. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to hear this. You have your views. That's great. I have my views. That's great. I'm not going to stand here after paying to come in to be told that I have to stand separately from people because I have had the vaccine. I'm just like, whoa, so far out of order. I can't even begin to say, I can't even see where you cross the line. But anyway, yeah. So Keith, half an hour later, there you go. There's my thoughts on them. Immediate access to a medium or reader. Interesting. You do see people at these events will book up with every reader going until they find the message they want, or they'll cherry pick the bits out of the, so there is the danger there. I think, or my thinking is adjusting now, that if you get people who've never had any real exposure to spiritualism, give them a psychic reading to begin with, because it's all about them. But to give an evidential message at times for people who've got absolutely no understanding can be an awful lot of effort with very minimal returns on it, because they don't understand the enormity of being able to speak to long lost ones. Also don't have the flexibility as well. I'm sure the mediums in the room will understand this. That when you work with a church congregation with your evidential mediumship, it's totally different to working with a non-church congregation in a den or something, because church people tend to have a little bit more understanding of what it's about and a little bit more awareness of things, whereas I don't mean educated, but people who haven't got that much knowledge of what we're doing may just, it's bloody hard work sometimes, some of them. I had an absolute cracker of one. I was describing the link. I knew I had a stroke, and I kept leaning to my left. I said, I know we've got a stroke condition. I didn't say it was on the left. I just say, well, I know I've got a stroke condition here. And I'm sort of like, I've got my arm like this, and I know that the face dropped and everything. And this woman was going, no. And I got back to spirit and I said, listen, my love, I really can't change this. And I've got to see this through, because just here so strong. I said, what part, or is it all of it that you're not understanding? She said, it was on the right-hand side. I was just like, I'm going to make you my next message. It's just daft things like that, So, yeah. MBS is absolutely great. They have a place, like anything, like a spiritualist church, a spiritualist centre. If it's well run and organised, it's a sheer joy. If it's an ego wagon for somebody, or a purely financial thing for something, then I would find that lacking. Lovely Jack. The good teacher will not leave the student with a "that's rubbish, not working," but will bring a replacement. Try to do like so and so. We'll bring a replacement. Try to do like so and so instead, and they won't say well done when not. It won't help anyone. Yeah, quite right, Jack. Quite right. Yeah, and I wouldn't walk away from somebody saying, well, that was crap. I wouldn't, honestly. Yeah, if somebody is genuinely wanting to learn, to improve, You know what? I'll bend over backwards. Usually at my own cost, be it in time or whatever, and commitment. I would bend over backwards to help those people. But when you get the people who look at me, I'm wonderful. I told that man that he knew a woman in spirit. Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, seriously not interested. Seriously, don't want to know. Lovely. Carol back. That's great. We usually have around 15-20 minute address. If it goes any longer, the congregation start twitching. Yeah, I get that. I've seen that happen as well. Again, this comes back to sometimes the quality of the demonstrators and also the understanding level of the congregation. I'm very fortunate here in Poole. I've got a great congregation who are really engaging in understanding. We had a beautiful trance medium down here. Very selfishly went and passed over. I was so annoyed. Lovely David Jackson. He was exemplary, and his addresses would start off with writings received in his home circle that him and his wife used to sit in I think they were sat every night, just the two of them, to receive these writings. And he would start off with one of the writings and then go into an address. 9 times out of 10 in his address, he would start swaying into that trance side. And I've seen him do a 45-minute address in a 1-hour service, and nobody complained. Everybody loved it, but speakers like that are exceptional, and they are not the norm. As long as that demonstrator has got that knowledge, that underpinning knowledge, and has got something of value to share. People come into our churches and centres now and they're looking for hope. And that really is quite a challenge for us to find that. Again, what I was talking about mediums not, getting to a point and going, that's it, I'm here. And, and that reflects also in their philosophies as well. And I can sadly name quite a few mediums down this way who, if I went and saw them today, would be giving exactly the same address as they gave 5 years ago. And that's where the boredom factor, and this is certainly where the twitching would come in. But yeah, we are. People are coming in looking for something, and we're not going to meet the mark every time with everybody. We know that. We understand that. But in the philosophy, in that address, that is the chance for the spirit world to give that message to everybody about, when you walk out of these doors, yeah, it's a pile of poo. But what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and bury your head, or are you going to rise up and go, okay, been here before. How do we do it the last time? But anyway, that's lovely. What church are you then, Carol? Sorry, I'll let you know. Keith, I remember a former teacher saying to me, if you were dead, what would you like to say? What would you want to discuss? Your love of cooking or gardening? Oh, would you want to discuss your love of cooking or gardening? Yeah, I like that saying, actually. If you were dead, what would you like to say? You know what? That's a really deep question. That is a really good question for like one of the awareness nights and things like that. Because, oh, thank you, Keith. I'm pinching that as well. There's all this stuff I'm nicking off you tonight. If you were dead, what would you like to say? Wow, you could have a whole night's discussion on that. Thank you. Thank you. Lovely, Marion. That word, joy, dedication, circle, healing, or mediumship, all should be done with enthusiasm and joy, humbly and in love, spirit and action. Yeah, I agree totally. There used to be somewhere around here that did open platform nights, and the person who was running them Oh, good God. He used to start off the night by, come on then, who wants to do the opening prayer? And it just went downhill from there on in. And they couldn't understand why it was so, why it was so unpopular. It seriously was. Yeah. Oh, come on then. Let's get this painful part out of the way. Oh God, and I've seen it in some services and all that where it's just like so orthodox and oh dear, please pull any bit of fun or laughter or love that we may have out of this service. You've done it exceptionally well. Anyway, thank you everybody. Hope you've enjoyed that. Good grief, I've gone waffling on as well. Something different. I like these little talks, and thank you for all your contributions tonight. That's lovely, Keith. I really, you know what? You don't know what I'm going to do with that. About if you were dead, what would you like to say? Because God, you can use that so much, so many places. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the evening and enjoy yourselves. Remember, we are live online tomorrow. We have the lovely Irene Hall and M. Dowsing. M is one of Irene's students she's bringing down with her, and we are all for that at Paul. Give these students that opportunity to work with their circle leaders and gain that confidence and skill at working on the platform. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's going to be great fun. In the meantime, have a wonderful night wherever you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. So nice talking with you. Oh, very quickly, Jim Crowley. You were just about to go, Jim, but I just saw this and something piqued my curiosity. I personally feel that if a person you walking into a circle or psychic fair and getting a message and never returns again, I see that as the best result ever. They can get on with their life journey and trust in themselves and their judgment. Fair enough, Jim. Yeah. Do you know what? I did a sitting the other day and the communication came across in a way that I've never had before. It was incredibly direct. It wasn't rude. It wasn't offensive. But it took no prisoners in what was said. And when I'd finished, I was sat there thinking, right, this person is either going to run out screaming or punch me. And they actually turned around and went, that is exactly what I needed to hear. And that was exactly the way they would have said it. And thank God for that, because I was just sat there thinking, oh my God, I'm virtually shouting at this person. What's going on? But yeah, that can happen. That seriously can happen. Thanks for that, Jim. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to catching up soon. Don't know who's on next week. I shall find a wonderful guest to join us. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Take care. Lots of love and